Hello.
Yeah, that's your name.
Squirrels got me.
Big Jim.
Yeah.
Really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it, because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yesterday morning, I'm glassing up on the pass, and I see these deer moving, and I'm like, ooh, there's some deer moving. All of a sudden, I just see this person just head down, just hauling ass, wearing shorts and a t-shirt with a pack on. And I'm like, is that Tard? My dad always talks about floating through the woods like the autumn breeze.
So Robert's
when you're
the
275 pounds, I don't know how you do that, but
the Freightliner. It's just like a creeper. You're just kind of up in the corner watching what's going on down there.
Yeah.
You know.
He's like,
he's up there slapping, pissing all over everything.
is it warm yet?
How did you know the name of the actor?
That's right. I know.
How did you say his name?
Hervé Villechaize.
You know what pert near means.
If you know what pert near means and you live in America, you're a redneck too.
Welcome to the Log Talk Podcast, brought to you by Pert Near Outdoors. What's up, gang? Billy here, checking in for another episode of Log Talk with Pert Near Outdoors. And this week we have a special guest from Colorado, Garry Dubs. So this is going to be a much different conversation than what we typically talk about. We do talk hunting, but we do this kind of focus of this conversation is fitness. But we kind of went down a bunch of different wormholes, around predator management and wolf reintroduction in Colorado. Some of Garry's thoughts on that. So it's a very interesting conversation. I didn't really have a whole lot of a roadmap. You'll hear the story about how we met Garry and how we became connected. And I didn't really know a whole lot about him other than the fact that he was. We ran into him on the trail and that he is big into fitness. So I kind of figured he'd be an interesting guy to talk to and get to know a little bit more about him and what he's up to. So I think you will enjoy this episode as I enjoyed recording it. So I just assume that you're going to like it too. So that's that. We'll get to chat with Garry in a few minutes, but just kind of wrapping up some of the activities of the weekend here. Another fantastic weekend in upstate New York. Weather was awesome. Spent the day on the boat yesterday with some friends and with the kids, and that was a lot of fun. And then spent the night back in my parents' house last night, and I got to record a podcast one-on-one with Dad. We haven't done that yet, so that was a lot of fun to sit down, just the two of us, and shoot the bull. So I'll probably drop that one next week and let you guys hear what he's been up to with his life while this whole COVID thing's been going on. So we'll catch up with Dad there, but that was fun last night. And then today I got up early and went down to some public land, and that I've been hunting for a couple of years now and starting to kind of figure the property out a little bit. And so I had a great day down there. I think I got there about 6:45 and pulled out of there at 1 o'clock. So spent a good portion of time down there walking around, covered a bunch of miles, marked a bunch of waypoints, put a couple cameras up, and set up I bought one of those cell links from Spy Point, and I've got we've run all different types of cameras over the years. My brother, my dad, myself, all the guys that I hunt with, everybody's kind of just, shopping for deals and buying different cameras. So, when you buy those price point cameras, you never know what you're going to get. And so I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a camera that's under $100 and is reliable and will last you several years, the Primos Proof Cam, I think it's a Proof Cam Generation 2. It's a green camera. That's one of my best cameras to this point. The thing's got a broken bracket on it, and it still just keeps working. The pictures are great. It'll last a long time on the one first batch of batteries, or on your batteries. It'll last. So I just want to, we've been talking a lot about Cuddyback, and I'm going to tell you in a minute what we're doing with Cuddyback to buy more of those cameras. But I went this route with the Spy Point, and that thing, I've got a couple Spy Point cell cams already. They've worked very well. The battery life is good. I've been happy with them. They work, for whatever reason, they work way better down in the Finger Lakes in the Naples area where our camp is than they do on the farm out here on top of Wyoming County. So it makes zero sense, but the cell service is terrible out here, so I guess that does make sense. But round and round I go here. So that Primos camera, I bought another one of them on they're on Amazon right now for $60 Prime, and to your door, $60. I got it in a week, a little under a week, and so I hooked that up to my cell link, and very impressed with how easy that whole system's set up. And I like the app functionality of the Spy Point. Connects up really nicely. And all three of my cameras that I now have on there are showing. You can look at all the pictures together. You can look at them individually. Just a really nice platform there that Spy Point's got going. So I was happy to get that set up today. I set up a couple mock scrapes, three mock scrapes, and two of which I put the cameras on, and then one that I figure I'll try to maybe have just a scrape there. Maybe I'll get another camera up there, or maybe I'll just have that there as maybe a spot I go hunt if I have an opportunity to do so. But try it out. I bought some dock line for for a boat, a little bit heavier. I think it might just be 1/4 inch, but I think it could be 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch dock line. It's a little bit heavier rope than what I was using before, and this is something that picked up when we were down with Steve Shirk down in PA. He does this quite a bit. He'll typically, even if there's an existing scrape, he'll typically hang a rope in it. A lot of times because you'll see, a scrape will be there and be active for maybe a couple years or maybe just 1 year. But then once they get the branch all broken up and snapped off, and a lot of times the branch will die, it falls down, and then the deer don't have that licking branch, so they don't keep coming back to that spot. So I kind of took that tip from him and been trying to get that going here locally. And so I hung up a couple of those and zip tied some artificial leaves to it that I bought on Amazon as well. So I'm interested to see what happens. I got a cell cam on one of them, and hopefully we'll be getting some pictures here in the near future from that. So that was cool. And then I alluded to the cuddy back side of it. We got a couple more cameras coming for the farm. Dallas and Brian and I decided we're really enjoying that system, and it's we got really good coverage of the farm right now, but we wanted to add a couple more. So we got a couple more cuddy backs coming there, and talked with my dad and my brother and my Uncle Mike, and we're gonna go in on a system for camp. So we've got I guess our first setup coming there, but we're gonna try something a little bit different with that setup. We're just gonna have the home camera at the cabin, a non-cellular home camera. So when we get to camp on Friday night, or if somebody's up there during the week, they can stop right at the cabin, grab the card out, check the cameras, and maybe save some money on not having that cell plan. And for us, most often, none of us live super close to camp, so it's not like we can get a picture of a deer knowing he's there midday and make a move on it like we can here on the farm, 5 minutes down the road. So really excited to get that going up at camp. That'll be a new dynamic for us to have us all running cameras together and fighting over the same deer. So that should be interesting. But I think that's about that on the weekend roundup. Jimbo is doing well and doing fine. Him and his wife did have their baby, and he is not sharing information publicly via social media, but I will blow his cover and say that young Jay Francis Harvey welcomed the world about a week and a half ago. So we're super happy for them. A beautiful boy, and everybody's doing well. So we got to meet him this weekend as well when we were back there in the Rochester area. So life is good. A lot of things moving and shaking, and it's wide open. So looking forward to what this week will bring, and hopefully everybody out there enjoys this discussion with Garry, and that you stay healthy and happy and keep feeding them. Thanks for listening.
There we go.
Nice.
What's up, man?
Not much. You look hot. You look hot and bothered.
That's right. Just I had to get the run in real quick. Only time I got today.
Yeah, jealous.
Yeah.
Watching
I'm
you tear it up over there, and I'm like, darn it, not staying
it
up
helps
with
not
Garry.
having kids.
Yes,
it helps not having kids. That's for sure.
Yeah, it sure does, man. So
What's
yeah,
up with you?
not much. I mean, you've probably been, if you've seen what I've been up to, pretty much been delivering buses, entertaining kids, and getting ready for this upcoming hunting season as much as I can. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. So you do some clearing. Is that your land?
Yeah, so the stuff we've been posting is my in-laws' property, and
Okay.
so I spend a lot of time over there with my wife's cousins, Brian and Dallas. I hunt a lot with those guys. So most of that stuff is over at their property, and then my brother, him and my dad have been doing a bunch of work up at we have a family hunting camp south of Rochester, New York, is
Nice.
what that stuff's been that my brother's been posting. So yeah, it's getting close. You must be getting close, right?
Yeah. Less than 2 weeks now. Today's what?
The 21st. So it's about 2
Yeah.
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. We got a little under 9 days.
Yeah. So the first
Yeah.
first opens up this year,
Or
right?
the second, September 2nd, so 10 days because there's the 31st.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do, I've been
Mhm.
I kind of want to tell a little backstory on I think it's interesting how we met, and
For
tell
sure.
a little backstory on that, and then just kind of talk a little bit about what you're up to and some of the things that you're doing. And
Yeah.
we have done nothing on this podcast to talk about fitness or anything of that nature. So I thought you'd be a great guy to chat with about that, and see
Awesome.
kind of how fitness plays into getting after it in the woods in the fall. So
Oh yeah. Got any pro tips like sound? Should I wait to say anything before you clear, or should you clear first, or does it pick it up well?
yeah,
Like
no,
when I say like the little yeahs in between, like, is that all right?
yeah, that's perfectly fine. So
Cool.
it's just, the audio is good. It seems like your connection's solid. So we'll let her rip.
Cool.
So
Nice.
we kind of already started talking, so I'm not really going to do an official introduction. I'll just
For sure.
roll right into it and say,
Yep.
today I'm sitting here chatting with Garry Dubs, and Garry currently resides in the great state of Colorado. And for the sake of protecting some of the places where we met, we won't say exactly where Garry's from unless he wants to divulge that information. But so we little backstory on Garry. Last year when we went on our elk and mule deer hunt, we pulled into the parking lot kind of late on a Friday evening, and we're frantically unloading our truck and getting there was already some trucks in the parking lot, but not too many. So we were getting excited about, maybe there isn't too many people up in there yet, and saw some hikers coming out, and we're just getting ready to finish getting geared up and get going up the trailhead. We had about a 4.5 mile hike to where we were going to camp, and in pulls this, I think you got a pickup truck, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gary's got a pickup truck. He pulls in, clearly a hunter, gets out. He's got all the camo on. He's got the Sitka gear. He's got the backpack, and we're like, son of a bitch, there's another hunter in here. And so we end up, that was quite the journey up the hill that night, and we got to kind of play leapfrog back and forth with Garry as he was hunting his way up the hill. But that's how we met Garry, and you ended up spending that first 2 nights in camp with us, right? Or no?
Yeah.
First 2 nights in camp, we ended up staying at the same spot together. And the hell is this? Somebody's joining? I don't know who that is.
Somebody's in. Somebody wanted to listen. You get a little
Somebody-
hot seat.
I don't know who it is.
Can you send that link to
It
somebody else?
It says Billy Harvey, but I'm Billy Harvey, so I don't know what that's all about.
Oh, there we go.
It's probably somebody who's going to start putting some inappropriate shit up on the up on there, some racist stuff or porn or something. But anyway, Garry, so
Porn's more acceptable this day and age, for sure.
Yeah. I have no place for racists, but if they want to show us some interesting stuff on the other side, that'd be fun. So yeah, I mean, so that was pretty interesting how we connected. And so I guess, what was that impression of you when you pulled in the parking lot, and the flip side from your angle?
Yeah, I saw these guys get out, and I granted, you guys are day one. I'm in week 3 because it's archery season for me. So we start, 2 weeks muzzle loader overlaps, and I see these guys come out with a crap ton of gear. I'm like, oh man, these are here for the long haul. So anyways, we get talking. I hear you're straight off the truck from New York, and so I thought that. Well, I was like, well, that's going to be quite the elevation gain very quickly. And, I'll throw a little bow in there. I think it was like 4 or 5 miles up, not you, but I catch up to you guys, and one of your guys is dying. He's out of water, headaches kicking in already, straight off the out of the truck. And he's like, dude, I'm out of water already. So gave him the Nalgene anyways. You guys are super gracious, returned the favor, gave me some coffee the next morning. But yeah, it was hard to fathom coming straight out of the car from New York and going right into it, but it was impressive nonetheless. I mean, you guys demolished it, and the next morning or up right after it, no altitude excuses for sure.
Yeah, it's that. So that was Brian, and Brian had a pretty rough first half of the year last year. He was bad on some health issues and went through a pretty abrasive surgery, and like a month before the hunt. So he did not have the opportunity to really train, but it wasn't going to stop him from getting after it, And so, yeah, I mean, hindsight, we all kind of learned a lot. The first time we went out there, we drove 24 hours straight, got to where we were going to spend the night, and we stayed in a hotel, had a nice dinner, kind of took a shower, acclimated a little bit, and then the next morning packed up in. Well, we were trying to conserve vacation days this past trip. And like you said, I mean, we went 24 hours nonstop, hit the trail, and went right up. And yeah, definitely. I mean, we were all carrying 7 days worth of stuff. So probably, 60 pounds plus easily. And yeah, Brian was breaking down pretty bad there. So you saved the day. You had water, you helped carry pack. I think you and we went up and found the camp spot, and then we came back down and helped get the bags from him and Danny and finish the leg. But yeah, that was,
we can tell them all that we were in Summit County. We were somewhere in there.
We were high.
Yeah. High, somewhere high in Summit County.
Yes, in the mountains. We were in the mountains chasing wild animals. So it was, and I was thinking back as we were going to get ready to have this conversation. It's funny because for that, we only spent, I don't know, maybe 4 hours together total, being at camp, and you went off and hunted on your own all day Saturday and came back and spent the night with us. And then we all kind of split off in the morning and did our thing Sunday. But it's funny how just that little bit of time in camp, I felt like, we chit chatted a little bit, who are you? Where are you from? What's your background? So it's funny because it's just a basic hunting camp situation where you felt like the guy, and we really only spent like 4 hours together. It was kind of interesting.
Right. Yeah, you just hop right in. You're like, and I feel like in this realm, you can quickly identify, the good guys pretty quickly,
Coffee makes friends.
You already have some pretty good qualifiers: coffee, hunting, and yeah. Do you need anything else? That's
all the
real
matters.
Question.
Yeah,
no.
100%. Yeah. So that's how we met, and that's basically all we know of each other than the fact that, right before we split off, we exchanged, social media handles and stuff so we could connect afterwards. But, what's a little bit, what your background? I think you're not originally from the West. You're from the East, correct?
Yeah. East Coast boy from Maryland. Grew up little rural areas of PA, and then thought I wanted the city life. And then I was like, oh man, no, I like the life that I was born into. That's much better. Had that little glimpse. But, while I was in the city, I got my exercise science degree at Towson University in North Baltimore. Became an assistant strength coach there for like a year and a half, while also doing some personal training. And then after that, opened my own facility, a performance studio, like small group, kind of like CrossFit without the name. Did that for 4 years. And then Baltimore's crime is, it's really low. So we're like, we need to get out of Dodge. And so Haley, she's from Colorado. So she was like, hey, let's go to the land of fruit and honey. And I was like, I'm sold. So, and that's how we're here. So yeah, now our current company is called ATH Fitness, right? And, the main gist of it is making sure that, allowing so much of fitness these days, especially the CrossFit realm, which I've been a part of, is, so geared around competition in the gym, and just kind of getting back to the grassroots of, making your training amplify whatever it is you want to do outside of the gym, right? Allowing your body to be capable and ready for anything. We think you should be able to hop into a Spartan race the next day, go hunting, hike up a couple thousand feet, whatever, run consistently, pain-free. Like those are all like basic things that we believe every human should be able to do, especially, for vitality, right? We're not so much like the health brand, like, look, we want you to live as long as possible. I don't want to live as long as possible. I just want to live as long as I can with vitality. So that's really kind of where we're at right now. And that's what we do.
How's that going? Now, did you just start the all-terrain fitness relatively recently?
So we started All Terrain Fitness probably like right when we got out here. I've worked with another awesome company. I'm sure wearing the shirt right now called Wad Prep. Made some programs with him and for his company, and had some pretty good success online with that. Those are kind of like one-time ticket online programs, and I learned a whole lot, still learn a lot from him. I mean, they're super successful and light years ahead of where we're currently at so far, but they've been in the game for a while. And so anyways, we started this right when we got out here, and now I just think it's gotten a little bit more visible because we're finally kind of doing what we are passionate about. We thought we wanted to do like one-time ticket stuff, and now we do like much more like personable, connecting, coaching, more accountability, guiding you, and then just turning like that all-terrain life into sustainability. Like we don't want to be coaching you for forever. We want to give you all the assets and tools. So I think it's just now you're seeing it a lot more because we're just aligned with what we should be doing.
Yeah. And so what is that like? Are you seeing, like, obviously this last 5 months with quarantine and gyms being closed, has there been a lot more people reaching out to someone like you to help give them structure and routine?
Yeah, I think, I'm quite the survivalist. And so I was like, all this online stuff's drying up. Like, I'm going to go get a job right now. I went to the pharmacy tech. I'm like, everyone's going to need the drugs. When COVID hit, I'm like, I'm getting first in line before the work dries up and everyone's, sitting there waiting for their food rations. That's where my brain goes. So got that. But then the online stuff started picking up dramatically. Things didn't pan out to be as bad as we thought. And, I think a lot of people have picked up with us because they kind of realize they enjoy being able to train at home on the fly. A lot of people picked up gym equipment to start training at home. And I think that convenience, but yet still having that kind of accountability and coach and somebody checking in with you is, it's definitely something that a lot more people are growing a little bit more fond of, instead of, taking 15, 20 minutes out of their commute to stop at the gym, whatever. So I think people are definitely, the quarantine has really helped people be much more acceptable of like Zoom and feeling more connected that way than we have in the past. And, seeing more value in it than they used to. And I think, a lot of people are just realizing how convenient it is to be able to work out right at home and then be right there with the family and stuff like that, So,
Yeah. So with somebody that's like new getting into it with you, that's been one of my challenges. The local gym's been closed. So basically I've been, running and throwing the pack on is like the only two things I've been doing basically since March. And it's getting old, and, it's hard to find the time to go out for an hour run with the two young kids and being back at work, in busy hours. So like if you're somebody who is working with you, like what type of equipment do you typically have is needed to get in and do some sort of a program like you're doing?
Yeah. You can do no equipment, but obviously I'm a big fan of, loading the joints with weight. And I always tell people, like, look, if you are going to get like minimal gym equipment to have maximal upside, I think you get one of those dumbbells that go up to 90 pounds. I mean, that's pretty dang good. One heavy kettlebell, a bench, a pull-up bar, some sliders, and then a jump rope, and you're good. I mean, what else do you need? We can squat with the dumbbells, kettlebells. We can load upper body, pulling, pushing, pulling with pull-ups and, dumbbell bench press, seated shoulder press, whatever it may be. Kettlebell swings to get some hinge movement into the hips and go out and run. And you can combine so many elements with that. And, I think a lot of times people undervalue minimal, right? They kind of think like they get obsessed or think that they need all this equipment. And I think, if you can do a push pull upper and lower, you can get some conditioning in, some different heart rate zones multiple times a week. I mean, that's all you need. And if you combine that with sustainable eating, I mean, you're going to be lean, you're going to be cardiovascularly fit, tendons are going to be loaded to the point where they can handle load without getting flared up and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be able to stay all terrain, right?
Yeah. I think that was something that we briefly talked about when we were together up in the mountains, was that you did a lot of work with people that were having like injuries in their joints and whatnot, or was it whether it was from like other workout plans or just day-to-day life where people had a lot of aches and pains, and a lot of times it was stuff that could be fixed with exercise rather than fixed with chiropractor or physical therapy.
For sure. Yeah. I always, I've helped a lot of CrossFitters that kind of get damaged from all the high reps and stuff like that. And, so much of, if somebody's actually injured, that's not my specialty, but like, if you're just not moving well, like there's totally remedies for, exercise that can be prescribed. And, so much of our aging, right? Our losing vitality is just because we don't load the tissue correctly, right? Or we don't load it enough. It's, that whole number of like 10,000 steps, right? That's not like just some magical off the top of your hat number. Like that's the amount of steps that we need for our tissue to signal to lay down new tissue. Like you have to load tendons and ligaments and joints to keep them, resilient and strong, and those tendons thick. And so much of, getting older, getting a little bit more hunchback, whatever it may be, can be so easily offset with so much less than people think, to just extend that vitality, when it can be so simple, like loading twice a week, like is, plenty of what you need to keep those joints and everything together. But we've definitely, those programs that I made with Rod Prep, they're specifically targeted for shoulders, hips, core, and they more or less kind of address just some common muscular imbalances that people tend to have, being a little bit too anterior dominant in the shoulders because we live our life so forward and not, strengthening the posterior muscles, and, the hips. Like so many of us sit all day long. So a lot of that's focusing on strengthening the glutes, just because we tend to not, they just aren't, the structural balance between them and the quads is just not necessarily always there. So it's just, those are more or less to just take what you're doing and making it better.
Yeah. I can see where, having a solid base like that. I mean, last year, so we split up on Sunday, and Sunday we spent the rest of the day packing that elk out. And I don't think you've experienced that yet, right? Packing an elk out.
Not an elk. No.
So, I mean, sweet Jesus. I mean, we've packed a lot of deer. We've packed the mule deer. We've packed whitetails back east here. And there's just, you think you know what it's like, and there's just nothing.
You think you're ready. Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, that pack out was up over that pass and then all the way down. So you're talking, 6.5 miles probably. And that beat the living shit out of us. I mean, and I had been training, running a lot. I've been, I'm active. I work out. I try to stay, compared to the rest of the group, I was the most fit of the group as far as, just fitness goes. But it beat me up too. And I've said time and time again since then that I think the only way you can prepare, for that duration of a pack out is just to get used to carrying that kind of weight for an extended period of time, or just being on your feet for an extended period of time.
Yeah, for sure.
That was the worst part. My worst, I think most of us, the worst was your feet. Your feet are just destroyed. Your body might be okay, but your feet are just done.
Well, and to paint the picture, I mean, you broke down the elk, and then you had to go basically straight up 2 miles, basically up that to the pass. So we're talking like up to a peak, and we're talking, it's almost just a vertical mile straight up. But then from there, you have another, I think, 6 miles from that pass down to the car. And then you're going to do it again. And now you're carrying 150, 200 pounds plus on your back, right? You're like, you have to, like, what does that entail? Like, you need to have a strong back. Like, you need the deadlift, you need the squat. Like, those are just plain pushes and pulls that like load the body in these global patterns that are going to prepare you for, that realm. And I think a lot of what we do is, we want a lot of the gym rats, the muscle heads to get a little bit more endurance in there. And we want the endurance people to get a little bit more strength in there as well. Because like, look, if you can run really fast in the mountains, but like you look like an ostrich picking up and flipping a tire, right? Like that's not very functional. Like you're not going to be somebody who's going to, be able to pack out that elk and just do things that are kind of a little bit more functionally based. You might be fast, but cool. Yeah. Like, and then same thing, if you have too much muscle, right, that's going to hinder you as well. Like, I've been there. Like when I came out here, I was like 205 pounds. I'm down to 175.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Jesus.
The first thing I noticed was like this city muscle, as I like to call it, like this is not advantageous for the mountains at all. Like you just can't circulate oxygen as well. And so, yeah, I mean, so much of what just to test all that to attest to just how important it is, for those moments where you have to call upon it. Like there's moments when you have to call upon it. And then also in the sense of like, we want to do this for life, right? Like you're out here trying to, kill the healthiest meat in the world. Like, so why not be as healthy as you can, right? You're eating meat that so many people don't have access to. And I think that's also part of that all-terrain life is like, look, we want to, fuel yourself with the best. Right. And so, yeah, you guys crushed it. Speaking of that bull,
you think?
I mean,
Garry?
I'm pretty sure, like 90% sure. All right, we'll paint the picture. So you guys go one way in the morning, I go another way. You guys have another two guys on the mountain that I never met?
Two guys on the other side of the pass. Yep.
Yeah, and so I get down into this valley, and I work up this drainage ditch all morning from like 5:30, and for about, I would estimate like a mile. So I first see this bull, and I see him like probably 100 yards away, and he's not necessarily staying still, but he's moving. He's moving at a decent pace. So I'm just trying to kind of follow him, keep coming up with him. There's, I'm looking on Onyx. There's this nice little drainage right here that we're both basically kind of funneling up. And so I'm just kind of pushing with him. I get a couple glimpses, for 2-3 hours, we're just working up this drainage. And so I'm taking off my pack. I'm getting ready. Like he's like on the other side of this knoll. He's basically on the left side of the drainage. I've been on the right side. I can't see him anymore at this point. And so I'm putting my pack down. I'm ready to, just getting ready to go stalk. I'm going to leave my pack here. It's a good advantageous position. And then son of a bitch, I hear 2 shots go off like simultaneous, like yep. I'm like, what the hell? I text you and I'm like, dude, was that you? And you're like, no, me and my buddies, they just said they got up. Didn't you say they had just gotten up, sat down for like an hour or something like that? And this big 6x6 walks out and boom.
Yeah. So you went up in the morning, you went up over the pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you went down the other side and you were over in the timber. Were you in the timber at that point? So yeah. They shot that bull farther over in the timber, almost to the bottom of that large mountain there. Yes.
Yeah.
Garry, yeah, I'm gonna have to cut that out. You can't say that. No, fucker. That's all right. That's why you can edit stuff. I'll just edit that out.
Yeah, there we go. When you get
so
talking,
yeah,
man.
Right below. I'll cut that out.
Right below. No, we'll right below the mountain.
Yeah, is where they shot it, and we were above. Above that ridge that runs out to and then it goes up the big round mountain.
Mm-hmm.
We were straight above them when they shot, so you must have been right below us too. So the shots, you feel like they were pretty close to you.
Oh, they were right there
because that bull came running to them.
Yeah, I had spooked. That was my bull.
Yeah. That's all right. Maybe if we run into you, I still have some of the meat. Maybe
there we go.
I'll
appreciate it.
Yeah, it is delicious.
After that, I got my pack back on. I was so defeated. I went back to the tent and just took a nap. Man, I was brutalized.
Yeah. Well, that is quite the trek down there. So let me explain to you what. So it was Bob and Tard were the two that were over there, and Tard's the one that ended up. Bob missed it. And actually, he hit it, but he hit it in the shoulder, and it appeared the slug hit the shoulder, but it stopped. And he thinks that the angle it was at, the bullet hit a mound of dirt right in front of the elk, and the bullet started tumbling, and it hit sideways and didn't hit the way it needed to actually really penetrate. And the bullet hit the shoulder, and that's what it was. And then the bull was running on a dead run, and he was actually filming Bob because he couldn't believe it. They were like 20 yards apart, and he's like, oh my God, I'm going to get this on film. He's using his video camera or his cell phone. He's taping, and he shoots, and the bull just comes running, and you hear him drop his phone, and he just shoots, and you hear Bob go, did you get it? He goes, I don't know. And then the thing, it didn't run that far, and it didn't go far. He hit the bottom of the heart, and it was, you ask him, and he's like, dude, I just pointed and shot. He's like, yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm practicing, and it just happened, and he made a great shot on it.
You got to send me that video if you can get your hands on it.
Yeah. I'll see if I can. The audio was played. We got the audio on. We did a podcast around the campfire. Would have been Monday night, and
nice.
That was pretty. We ate one whole backstrap, which was a ton. I mean, that's a ton of meat. We ate one whole backstrap that night. The 5 of us.
I bet that was amazing.
It was fantastic, and drank a ton of vodka and vodka and tea. That's our drink of choice out of the stream there, and it was awesome. But so they shot the bull on Saturday morning. Those guys packed. They broke the bull down. They shuttled it towards the pass, and they stashed it in the trees. So they made trips there stashing. So they probably walked, I don't know, 7-8 miles on that was opening day. And then Sunday morning we met them, and we started packing the meat out, and we packed the meat all the way out. Those guys had been, they went all day the day before, shot the bull, took care of it, had their night's sleep. And then we packed the meat most of the day. Sunday, we stayed out. The 3 of us did. We stayed in town for the night. And those guys drove that meat all the way to Gypsum, to the taxidermist there as a cooler. They drove it all the way there, drove back, and then packed all the way back to their camp, which is on the other side of the pass.
That's awesome,
dude.
That is work.
Yeah, I think they hiked 24 miles that day. And that's no shit. Like
easily
because they had to shuttle some more meat that morning, so they were shuttling meat. And then it was about, it's about 7 miles out, 7 miles back, and then whatever they had in between. So, and Bob's, he's 63, 64 years old.
Hell yeah.
So
Bob's the man.
Yeah, that's freaking, I hope to someday be able to
What
do
a trip,
that,
man.
Yeah. So it was, and that area is, got to keep that quiet as much as you can, because that's a
I will
good
be
area.
back. I'm back there this year. I actually have 2.
Tags.
I'm in I don't know if you know, but for archery, Colorado's kind of shrinking the OTC units because there's a lot more archers thanks to Joe Rogan. And so they are trying to get a little bit more, control and understanding of the numbers of what's going on. And so I got one, I'll just say, in the Telluride area. So we're doing a week in Telluride starting on opening day. And then I have the OTC, which I will use for back to that spot in weeks 3 and 4.
Nice.
And 2 bear tags this year, man. They're just handing them out. Yeah.
Are they? Are you going to, with a bow, or are you going to try that with a rifle?
I got both with a bow. The Telluride one is just an add-on. So they're just like for, a OTC add-on to whatever you have, and then you can still draw. So I drew one for where I live here in Eagle. We have a couple neighborhood bears. So gonna see if I can't be the neighborhood hero.
There you go.
And then so it should be a good year, man. A little bit more prepared this year. For me, that was first time really go at it in Colorado, and learned a lot. And that spot, just sign everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you're in that deep timber, man, sign everywhere. It is just,
Was that your only?
Unbelievable.
Was that your only trip into that spot when we saw you, or had you been in there, or did you go back?
That was my first time in there. We had been just a little bit more north, the beginning part of the season, which was just overran with bear. I mean, just there's berries everywhere. We ran into like 3 bear opening day, and 2 within like 200 yards. They were just within 200 yards of each other. But it was just perfect bear habitat. I mean, there was berries everywhere. So we were a little bit up there, and then did some Onyx scouting, if you will, and found that spot, nice little north-facing slope in that nice little area. And, we went back up there, did some scouting a few weeks ago, and also kind of made it a little training day as well, because it's got a great little loop, 16-mile loop that we hoofed it to get some miles on the feet, man.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you come out your
Pretty
side?
sweet.
Did you come out your side of town? Did you go back out that way when you did your loop through?
I did not go up and over to the other area.
So funny.
Other town. Yeah. So let's put it this way. So there's a loop. You can either end up back at the same spot, or you can cross over to another town. And I did the loop that comes back to the same spot. That's where we were. Yeah. But I don't enter in there anymore. There's another way to come up, just so I can come up with that wind, that thermal in the mornings. If I'm not camping overnight, I come up from the west or east side, if you will.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. There's a good little spot. So what's up with you guys? Not coming back out, huh?
Not this year. Next year we're definitely going to have a Western trip. It's looking like we're going to do an outfitted trip.
Nice.
My uncles and my dad's never been ever outside of New York State to hunt. And he's got his brother went last year. My uncle Chris, they went down in the San Juans, and
nice.
They had an awesome trip down there. So my dad has got the itch. So my dad and his 2 brothers and myself and hopefully a couple other family members will be coming out. And I think it's Bear Creek Outfitters. It's down. They've got some property that they've got leased. That's like it's down south of like Glenwood, south of that area.
Yeah.
I forget what that national forest is down there, but it's kind of there's a big loop there between
like towards Aspen.
In
between Aspen and Glenwood, kind of.
Yeah, and basically straight south. If you go to Glenwood and then whatever that national forest is, straight south, and there's a main like highway that goes. I don't know what the hell the route is. I can pull the map up and look.
Yeah.
They've got some property down there, so I don't know. I'm struck pretty bad with the mule deer bug. I just can't stop thinking about them. There's just we after you left, we had just had an incredible week of mule deer hunting up there, and I just can't stop thinking about them. So I may go back for mule deer when we go out there for that trip next fall. But I don't know. Everybody else is on for elk. So in my mind, I'm like, well, if everybody's hunting elk, do you hunt elk and then maybe everybody gets a chance to get one, or do you go mule deer and maybe get something a little bit different than everyone else? So
both good options, man. I don't think you can really go wrong.
No.
That area is kind of burning right now. I don't know if you know. Right next to me. It's like 10 miles.
Are you guys getting any? That's kind of like over towards like Dotsoro in that area, right? That's what's burning.
Yeah, a little bit more towards Glenwood, but now we are almost getting a little pigeonholed in. Now there's one on the other side of us. I mean, it's just smoke. Once those thermals get hot in the afternoon, man, and the smoke starts rising out of the valleys, there's just smoke everywhere, and you can't get outside. So that was another reason I had to hammer the run.
Get it done before it gets smoky.
Yeah. So that's, I will be gunning maybe for that tag. In around those burns, but I'm sure a lot of people will be as well.
Yeah. I mean, what's the feel from everybody out there? I mean, is there, I guess I'm not too familiar with the burning that typically happens. I know there's been some serious wildfires in other Western states over the last few years, but I don't feel like I've heard Colorado having any massive fires in a few years.
Yeah. So we had one like 2 years ago when I first moved here, but it was closer to Aspen. And now, I could be totally wrong, but I think what I kind of understand is that Colorado is not afraid to do fire and forest mitigation like some of the other hippie places are. We haven't gotten that far yet, where we're doing things throughout the year to, be smart and lower that risk.
Did they do any like controlled burns or anything like that?
They do a lot of control burns. Like you'll be driving through 70 and the electronic signs will be like, don't call firefighter, like it's a controlled burn, like stuff like that. And so, they're pretty good out here of A, fire mitigation, and B, a lot of my buddy's a firefighter, and basically what he's told me is like a lot of our guys that are just general firefighters are also pretty well versed in fighting forest fires, which hot shots and them are doing totally different trainings. But what I understand is that they'll be like a little bit more inclined to kind of let these guys be a little bit more involved because they trust them a little bit more in this realm because they're so close to it. Because first line of defense, like we have, the other day. There's another one that just started from a lightning strike. But the other day, like right outside my neighborhood, one started right on the side of the highway by a cigarette, right? Like that's all it takes. And so they're the first line of defense to go out there real quick and get it done before, it turns into something big, which this one did. And this one's in the canyon, which is crazy terrain to try to fight a fire. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I was reading an article that they try to build basically get everything down to bare dirt. I assume they're using bulldozers and, equipment like that, but you get into some of those mountains. I mean, what do you can't operate in those conditions.
Right. Yeah. You're not getting a bulldozer up there in a lot of those places. So they have to like let it come to them to a certain point.
Yeah.
And that comes back to like, your fitness. I mean, I trained the one guy and, he wants to be yesterday he was out, fighting a small lightning, not small by any means, but another one that's on the other side that, can grow and create a lot of, damage. And, and he's training and staying fit just so his body's ready for that. I mean, he's out in that suit. It's hot out. He's fighting a fire in the middle of the crap, right? Like you got to be fit. Like you got to be hydrated. You got to be taking care of yourself to just kind of be ready to attack that and not be so smoked and destroyed afterwards or let your body fail you, It's crazy. I mean, same thing with the hunting too.
Yeah, it is.
So how's your fitness, man?
How is it?
Told me, a little bit of running, a little bit of trying to survive right now with no gyms.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much been running. So I have got a race coming up in September that it's usually a spring race, trail run. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing the last like 4 years. Like my routine's been, I do the trail runs typically in April, May, and June, and then so I kind of focus my training from January to the end of running is focused on like endurance and running training is what I'm doing. And then once I get past that, typically throughout the summer and then through the fall and back cycling around to the first of the year, I kind of start focusing more on, weight training and doing stuff in the gym. But, honestly, I'm getting bored with what I'm doing right now. And it's, like I said, it's been super challenging. I've been working crazy hours over the last month and a half. So, I'm leaving the house at 5 a.m. and I'm getting home at 5 p.m. and, wife is sitting there with 2 kids saying, hey, I need your help. And so it's been interesting. Like I'm one of those guys that I get really frustrated when I'm out of my routine. And it's only been, it's Friday and this week was a bad week for me. I did not stay on my schedule training wise. And I get like mentally, I just get frustrated and I get like down about it. I'm sure you can probably relate to that. And, but what's been interesting is I've got one of these Whoop, with the heart rate monitor.
Yeah, man.
I got one of them maybe end of June, beginning of July. And the consistent thing that I'm getting from that is that I do not get enough sleep and I do not get enough rest. I don't recover. So, I got to figure that out because I can tell like on the days, it's really interesting on the days when it comes back and I wake up in the morning and I put in my journal from the previous day and I look at it and I'm at like a 75 or 80% recovery rate. And it says like, you're good to go for the day. I can feel it, and whether some of that's mental, I don't know. It probably is a little bit, but there's a
Yeah.
physical aspect for sure where
Yeah.
like this week I've been horrible. It's been like, anywhere from 50 to 60% recovery.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, I've just crawled to the end of the day today. I'm like, I'm completely shot. This week kicked my ass,
For sure.
But
It is. I wear the Whoop today. I was 90. And today, I mean, I wear the Whoop as well. Today I was 97% recovered. And to agree with you that I felt it, man. Great run. Pretty much PR'd my loop that I do. I mean, it's just awesome. And I think the Whoop, if any of your listeners are, something that the way to kind of improve their health or see what's going on is, to get data and to really kind of see what, what your body's reading and telling you. Right. And, one thing is obviously the recovery, like it tells you basically you wake up in the morning, it's like, hey, you're, 97% recovered or you're 15% recovered. Right. And it gives you like a little red, yellow, green. And, the Whoop, I really think for the recovery is best for an endurance-based approach. It's very much like, I don't necessarily, if I'm in the red, I can probably still go have a pretty good lifting session. But if it's in the red and I'm going on a longer run or something that I want to hammer a little bit faster pace, you feel it. The pace is low because I train in the heart rate zones. So, I'm hitting like a 155 average on a Z2 run and, on a non-recovery day, like at that same heart rate, I'm running one day at 155, I'm running the next day at 155. Well, the days I'm in the green, that 155 is a heck of a lot faster, man. And so that Whoop is really impeccable to see, what's going on in the cardiovascular system. But what has been changed my life with the Whoop is seeing the quality of sleep. So do you track how much REM and slow wave sleep you get on there?
I look at it. I haven't really tracked a ton of it.
Yeah.
I can tell you right
numbers,
now,
man.
I'm waking up a lot because the baby
Yeah.
wakes up and it's interesting because it asks you on there, are you parenting? And it's like, yes, every day I'm parenting. So that's been a huge effect. Like, and that's probably part of the reason why this has been a bad week for me is that our daughter has not been sleeping well this week. So she's basically, my wife and I have just gotten horrible sleep basically all last weekend and most of this week. So it's whooped our ass. And, you like seeing how many times you're waking up. But I like, just out of curiosity, what are you getting a night for like deep sleep or REM?
Oh, I'm going to tell you the whole story. All right. So 2 years ago, I get the Whoop. I'm in Baltimore.
So you've had it for that long?
I stopped for a little while, for about a year. I improved it, and I'll kind of break it down. And then I kind of went on a new route. So, to your listeners and anyone who does listen to this, like if you are like tired all the time, like look into your sleep. I was, I had the gym, so classes is 6 a.m. So you're up at like 4:30, whatever, and, I trained really hard and then I would coach in the evening as well. So, a lot of my preconceived thought of how tired I was, I work really hard. And then I get the Whoop, and then Haley and I, right, we're doing basically the same brutal schedule, same training, and hers is like always saying recovered. I'm always in the red, dog red. Like she's getting like an hour more REM, slow wave sleep more than me. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so like I go down like the route, like I'm looking at some of Whoop stuff, like it's the way to improve these things. Like I start like taking like cold baths, try a little CBD. It helps a little bit. But then I go down the route, I'm like, shoot, like I might have sleep apnea. And so the first place it led me to is like, look, when you kind of go to see a doctor or whatever, like I didn't see a doctor. If you have true sleep apnea, you're on this, like I'm not saying do this, like, but if you're just somebody who doesn't have sleep apnea and you want to improve your life and improve your energy, like these are some things that you can do. So anyways, like I'm going down this route. I'm talking to my buddy who's an ear, nose, throat doctor. He's like, there's three options. Like you can get surgery, you can get your adenoids removed, you can have a CPAP machine, or you can do like a mouth guard that protracts your jaw forward. And so I'm like, shit, I don't want to do the CPAP or the surgery, so I'll do the mouth guard. So I get this mouth guard, protracts your jaw forward. And so I went from like REM of like 45 minutes, and slow wave sleep maybe 45 minutes up to like an hour 30 of about each. And so, years I'm like, oh, I have it solved. But then my new thing is I get into nose breathing. Have you gotten into nose breathing yet?
I know I nose
Can you hear me?
breathe. Yeah.
No. Okay, so you nose breathe.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I go to nose breathing, and so then I started taping my mouth shut. So, to increase my compliance. So I have this mouth guard that's, close, protracting my jaw, tape my mouth shut. Then my REM sleep shoots up to about 2.5 hours a night, and slow wave sleep is about 2 to 3. But then so then I was like, well, shoot, is it the nose breathing? Like, do I actually have an issue with airway space? And so I went, not only I have the Whoop, and now I have a continuous pulse oximeter to sleep with at night. So I tested to see, I took out the mouth guard and just taped my mouth shut. And for me, it was mouth breathing. I was a habitual nighttime mouth breather. I taped my mouth shut, and my REM is double what I used to get. I need way less sleep. I sleep like 6.5 hours. I feel better than I've ever had. I don't need naps anymore. I hit 3 hours of REM sleep the other night. Like, I slept for like 6 hours and 30 minutes. And I hit 3 hours of REM, and I hit like 2.5 hours of slow wave sleep. And like, for those of you listening, like, those are the ones that give you the energy. Like, REM links your memories, like, and memory recall from the day. That's where, like, as we get older, REM sleep goes down, and that's when the memories get foggy, is because you're not having as much REM sleep when we're older, and those synaptic clefts aren't getting formed for memory recall. And then slow wave sleep is where you're like, you're repairing your body and your tendons and stuff like that, and producing growth hormone and stuff. And so if those are limited, like, you're losing so much. You're leaving so much energy and performance and life and feeling good on the table. So
that's really interesting that you, and you look at yourself, like, you're a healthy, fit guy. You wouldn't think that you would have those sort of issues, but it doesn't come in all shapes. It doesn't affect only overweight or unhealthy people. It can affect everybody.
And even if you are a nose breather, I still encourage, like, to just do a nice little piece of tape. Like, there's some mouth tape on Amazon that's like really light and adhesive, just to increase your compliance, because not like the act of putting on the tape, like, is going to make you, like, before you go to bed, like, I blow my nose, I do some saline spray. Then I blow that out as well to just clear out those sinuses. Like, when you have allergies, like, there's inflammation, like, you just don't know when you're going to, not nose breathe. And even if you are a nose breather, just because there's always going to be times when you're having congestion or whatever. And just that routine practice of, like, going to bed, doing that habit, clearing your sinuses and doing that saline spray, like, you just don't, the allergies and things and the buildup of stuffiness, like, just doesn't happen as much because you're constantly clearing it out. You're getting that inflammation out on a routine practice. So that, and I've read a lot about this, and I've known these things with an anatomy background, but, like, it just makes total sense. Like, your sinuses, I mean, they're like almost the size of, like, little kid's fist behind your nose. It's almost like an organ. And that all those sinuses, like, they humidify air, so it's easier to transfer oxygen into your system, gas exchange into your system much easier, because we have to humidify the air anyways. The nose produces NO2, so, like, that's why, like, when you yoga and you do yoga and you're relaxing, you're doing that stuff, right? That nose breathing is, like, it signals to the body to rest and digest. Like, think of an animal. Like, we're on a hunting podcast. I always display in the talk of, like, a deer that's gotten its ass whooped post-rut fight. Like, it drops its mouth. Like, it's a stress response. Like, think of the fighter in the octagon. Like, when the fighter who's getting his ass whooped, right, his mouth is dropped, he's on the ground, he's mouth breathing. It's like a stress response. Our mouth breathing is meant to be like fight or flight response, and nose breathing is meant to be slow, slow rest and digest. And then also that kind of like tracking, stalking lower heart rates of, like, slightly jogging at like 120, 130, 140, and nose breathing through there. Like, that goes back to, like, that whole primal, like, hunting and gathering, or hunting and stalking animals down for long periods of time, that, like, we could, track them down much longer than animals could keep going. And part of that is that nose breathing. We don't take one breath per step like most animals. And mouth breathing for humans, every other animal mammal out there nose breathes, right? We're the only ones that you see so many mouth breathers. And so just making sure that you are increasing your compliance while you sleep is just going to make a world's difference in getting that REM wave sleep, or that REM and that slow wave sleep, man. So give it a whirl.
That's freaking crazy, man.
Yeah. Try it. Tape your mouth.
Yeah. And I was looking back at it, and, like I'm on average getting like an hour, at least an hour and a half of both of SWS and REM. But like even last night, I got 8 hours worth of sleep, which is rare for me because I just crashed, but I didn't get enough. But I didn't get enough in with what I did to exert myself yesterday and everything else to recover properly. But that's fascinating stuff, man.
So how many slow wave sleeps in REM did you get for 8 hours? Hour and a half of each?
Let me look.
So here's what I'm finding is like, I just don't need that much sleep anymore. Like I care so much more now about my quality versus the quantity. Like that whole thing, like you need 8 or 9 hours. I'm at the point where like, if I'll get 6.5 or I get 8.5, like my REM doesn't go up. Like I can still hit that 2-3 hours if it's quality. I'm doing the right things and the right pre-bed habits and stuff like that. Like going beyond 7 hours, I'm almost more tired because it's just more light wave sleep, right?
It's a good point. Yeah. So like so last night getting 8 hours, I was at 2 hours and 14 minutes of SWS and an hour and 30 minutes of REM.
Nice.
And let me just look for a comparison. So I typically get 6 hours of sleep a night is my number, 6 to 6.5. And I still so the other night I got 6.5 and I had an hour and a half of deep sleep and almost 2 hours of REM sleep. Nice. So I'm getting a fair amount of good sleep, but you know, you make me think because, and that's a great practice with making sure your nose is clear, because the mornings when I wake up and I feel like I didn't sleep well, typically my mouth is real dry. And that's probably because I was breathing a lot through my mouth. And that makes a lot of sense, really. I mean,
think about when you drink. Like, do you wake up stuffy the next morning when you drink?
Yeah. My mouth is dry.
Yep. I mean, it's that same thing. It happens like just to biological responses, like if you're stuffy from, pollen or whatever, or if you've eaten like, crap, like a lot of, processed white starchy foods can kind of get that mouth breathing response, or but definitely like the drinking is always like everyone can relate to, is like, oh yeah, I always do wake up super stuffy, so my mouth is really parched. And same thing, like you said it right there, like those mornings we feel like you wake up, you didn't sleep as well, you were mouth breathing and you don't know what it is, right? But that practice of clearing it out, making sure those nasal passages, like sometimes when I have one nasal stuff, like I'll just breathe, like take 10, 15 breaths, like closing the stuffy nostril to just get that one clear, and it starts to clear up right away. Like, the nose is definitely an organ. Like if you don't use it, you lose it. And I mean, so for you, here you want to know the sleep routine? I'll tell you the sleep routine. I'm going to tell you. All right. So it's, before I stop eating, about 2 to 3 hours before bed. You've heard that one so many times, but through the data, I see how important it is. Like when I eat like that late night pizza, whatever it is, especially like a heavy dinner going out, and it's like right before I crawl into bed. I mean, same thing. I wake up feeling hungover these days. Like REM sleeps down, slow wave sleeps down. Like if you just have a high fatty meal before you go to bed, like there's just so much metabolism going on that's heating up your whole body that, like, you just can't get into that deeper rejuvenating sleep. So definitely, like, everyone's like, why do I stop 2 hours? Like that it's so important to get that digestion down so you can get that core temperature down. Typically, like if I can, like 2-3 nights a week, I'll try to like get into a hot tub to actually get myself hotter, and then get into like some type of cold shower, cold bath. Like when I do those days, like I'll have like heart rate variance through the roof. And now granted, like that doesn't happen as much as I would like it to. But if I don't do that, then I'm always at least taking a shower, like some type of shower to just kind of, it resets your thermoregulatory system. If you've been hot and sweaty that day, like just always try to take some type of rinse And then the cooling effect you get after you take that shower, when you get out into the air and that water and that evaporation, like it starts to set into that cooling effect. So I'll do that. I take a magnesium glycinate supplement before I go to bed, about 400 milligrams. So magnesium in there. I take this like GABA relaxer that has like L-taurine in it. It's an amino that helps with the neurotransmitter GABA, which is a restorative sleep. It deals with, it's more like your relaxation neurotransmitter. So I'll take that. I do take CBD with that, and that has like ashwagandha in it. I'm going a little bit down the rabbit hole, but I take those 3 things, get cold, clear out the sinuses, mouth tape. I sleep with earplugs, noise. I realize how much more the dogs are waking me up when I don't sleep with that. And my disturbances, like it would show me, like my disturbances, like from 9 down to like 5, right? So less disturbances with, having my ears plugged. And that's the sleep routine, man. Like just the practice, big thing I would say, like getting cold is huge, and nose breathing. Like those are the 2 most important. Like there's a chronic issue of people going to bed too hot, and that's between eating and not getting cold, like exogenically, and then internally having that thermos going because you're trying to digest. So getting cold, not eating too late, and then making sure your nose breathing is just the 2 biggest for sure. Yeah.
That's a hot tip that was not on the list of things to discuss today, but dude, it's so true. And I think it all dovetails back into, performance in whatever you're doing. But if you want to talk about hunting, if you're on a hunt and you're not sleeping, and you're going to try to go out and hunt, when you're on a hunt and that's all you're focused on doing, like going in the mountains like that, you have the ability to be out hunting for close to 12, 14 hours a day. And if you're not rested, you're not in your bed, you're not in your normal places. But if you don't have some sort of a routine and a good base, like you're not going to last very long on what you're on a bad night's sleep. You're not going to last very long.
And I'm going to take my mouth tape out with me in the mountains, man. Like I'm out there to perform. Like when I'm sleeping, like I'm already sleeping on freaking hard ground, right? Like I'm not going to take the chance of mouth breathing and getting less REM and slow wave sleep and oxygen to my body that I could be when I'm sleeping. I mean, like that's so important. How easy it is to just take a little thing of like, 3M surgical tape that's like $3 on Amazon out with you, right? Like, half the time type a little bit of tape on us anyways.
I'm just envisioning, because I've got facial hair. I'm
taping your mouth shut.
I'm just envisioning having to like wrap
right.
it all
Yeah.
around my head.
Little I've heard the facial hair works well with those like light adhesive ones. So you can still get away with it on Amazon. The stickier ones that I use for us bald faced people, that one can get those beard hairs pretty good.
Yeah, you'd be looking kind of funky with that dew.
Yeah. So, anyways, sleep aside, man. You're not coming to Colorado. What's your hunting schedule look like this year, man?
Yeah. So we're gonna do. We have an annual bear hunt, a little family tradition bear hunt we do every year in the Adirondacks. So we'll be doing that the last weekend of September. There's I guess they call it like early bear. It starts the 3rd weekend of September typically. So we'll be going up there for a weekend, and then our deer season starts on October 1st and runs nonstop until like the week before Christmas. So we'll be doing a lot of hunting at home here in New York for, doing the bear. And then, bear is something that, Danny and I were talking about the other day. Nobody really talks a whole lot about bear hunting. In New York, it's kind of a happenstance type thing because you can't bait. And they're very weary, it's the same way in Colorado. You could be out there for a week and never see a bear. It's the same way it is here. You can get lucky and stumble across one. And that's typically how we end up killing them, is just being in the right place at the right time. But we'll be doing that. And then we do a trip to Pennsylvania for a 3-day weekend. We go down on a Thursday morning and hunt Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and come home Sunday. So that's kind of another, family tradition.
In PA?
We go in Potter County is where we go.
Okay.
We hunt some
Where
public
is that
land there.
Close to?
It's
I'm from PA.
Yeah, so it's north. It's like just over the border for us. It's a bordering county to New York.
Gotcha.
So it's
Gotcha.
I guess I would say it's like almost more west than central, but kind of
Okay.
west central PA, northern PA.
Nice.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's only an hour. It's like a little over an hour drive. 2 hours for us to get right to the trail where we're going to hunt. But
Yeah.
I mean, we can be in PA in an hour from where I live, so it's pretty awesome. You don't have, I never growing up
Heck yeah.
ventured into that area, but my in-laws they've been doing it. That's kind of like their tradition. Like we have our tradition of going to the Adirondacks on our bear hunt. That's their tradition. They've been doing for over 20 years, going down to PA, and the group has grown like it's crazy. We've last year we had 15 guys on the hunt, and this year I think we'll end up having probably a couple more than that because everybody hears about how much fun
Wow.
we have, and everybody wants a piece of
What's
it.
in? Yeah.
And we don't,
You guys get a big
it's
cabin, right?
yeah. So the cabin
Yeah.
we were in the last 2 years, maybe 3 years, last 2 years was like an 8. It's slept 8, and last year we had 15 guys in there. So it was, it gets to be
You
a
get
little tough.
tight.
Yeah, because you got people sleeping in the living area where you got guys that want to stay up and party all night long, and then you got guys that want to go to bed. So there's not
Exactly.
a lot of space. But we rented another place this year that sleeps up to 14. So that means we can sleep up to 20 if we wanted to, or
Nice.
whatever. So
Yeah.
it's a
Make it work. There's
it's
floor
a-
space.
yeah, it's a great time, and we just do big group hunts. We do big. They're essentially deer drives, but they're very coordinated. We use topo maps. Everybody knows where they're supposed to be, and we have Garmin rhinos, so everybody's communicating, and you can see where each other are on the rhino, which is pretty awesome. That
is awesome.
That makes the hunt. It's so interactive. It's become one of my most looked forward to hunts every year. Just getting
Awesome.
down there with the guys, and the last 2 years we've shot $6 each the last 2 years. Like
Wow.
in 2018
Yeah.
and 2019 we got $6 both years. So we're starting to figure it out. So
There you go, man.
Everybody's got opportunity, and
Yeah.
the land of becoming the land of the giants down there. PA they've got some good things going for them with the timber cutting and the antler point
Nice.
restrictions. They're getting some real big bucks down there.
Yeah. They even got elk. I mean, they have some elk tags out now,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
I was just listening. They've been doing a pretty good job with that elk population. I think it's up over. I just listened to a podcast with Bo Martonic. He's a east to west, east meets west hunting podcast. I got to keep that straight. But his episode this week was talking with the elk biologist in PA, and I think their population is up. It's like 1,300 elk that the herd is down there, and
That's awesome.
They've got the areas planned where they want to extend them into, and they don't really have it's kind of a touchy thing because there's some people that would love to have double that in the quantity of elk, but with more elk you have more human elk interaction, and some people don't like
For
them
sure.
eating their rose bushes out front. But there's not a ton of ag in PA, so it's not like
Those
they're
people
going
suck.
down there. Yeah, those people do suck. Yeah, move if you don't want to
Yeah.
live there.
Right.
But
Go live
it
in a
is.
city.
It's awesome. In New York, we've got haven't heard a whole lot about it real recently, but the moose population is doing really well in New York. So I think in my lifetime there'll be some sort of a moose hunt here.
That's awesome.
That'll be some sort of a draw, something along those lines. But
Yeah, my buddy was telling me that he's a vet. He's awesome, so smart. He actually trains with us, and yeah, he was saying like introducing out there, like he said, the big thing that they were worried about was ticks, like not seeing if those elk would be able to survive that tick, more ticks getting them. So that's pretty incredible.
So that's in PA.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was just saying like that whole general Northeast, like reintroducing elk through there. Like the big worry was, ticks, thinking that they weren't going to be able to, the herd wasn't going to be able to sustain with all the ticks there and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so that's pretty incredible that they're getting.
It is. It's great. They've got a good section of habitat there, I guess, where everything's really working well. You've got the space, you've got big national, state forest lands and things like that. So, it's a good time to be a hunter. The Northeast has got a lot to offer, and the deer hunting here is fruitful around Western New York and upstate New York, and bears becoming more and more prevalent. You really have a chance any day you go out to see and shoot a bear. You never know. And,
Yeah.
Then the whole moose angle too is pretty cool. And I would assume one of these years we're going to run into some elk down in PA, because where we hunt's not too far where there is a population. You can actually get tags, when they do their draw, you can get a tag for the area that we hunt. So they're there.
Nice.
It's just a matter of, I'm sure they probably avoid groups of 15 guys coming through the woods.
Yeah. Probably real loud too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we get to vote on wolves this year.
They're going to allow you to vote?
Oh, well, they got it onto the ballot. It's for out here in Colorado, it's very much the front range versus the people in the mountains on everything.
Yeah.
And everyone in the mountains and every, actual person who works for the National Forest and CPW who actually studies the animals says introducing wolves right now is a terrible idea. But people down on the front range who live life according to feelings and emotions versus logic and reason and numbers want the wolves in there. So, so we get to vote on that this year, which should be interesting. We have some things going for us. In northern Colorado, they CPW confirmed that there is a pack up there that kind of goes back and forth on the Wyoming-Colorado border. So that kind of like changes, essentially the proposal is almost a little bit null and void, like saying we're reintroducing when there's already a population in here. But they're talking about, I was talking to one guy who works for the National Forest, and he actually deals with poaching cases. And he was saying that, basically right now, we already have a predator problem, mountain lions going hungry, because they're need their space. And then big bear population. That's why they're just giving these add-on tags away, basically. He said it would just be animal cruelty, just getting these wolves in here with how many people live here and stuff like that. And, how many more people and how much more we keep developing everywhere. Colorado is like the most developed, Rocky Mountain state. So to imagine like pressing all these people in here, we already have all these predators and all going for the same prey. Like, there's going to be bound to be human wolf interaction, stuff like that.
100%. It's been well cataloged. I think there's a lot of Western hunting podcasts that are talking a lot about this whole issue and have been for over a year now, since this has really become a thing, the potential reintroduction. And it's just, you brought up the point of thinking with emotions and not with reason and science. And that's the hard part for me is, you look at the bear populations and you look at the mountain lion populations, and just over the last few years, you live in an area that has boomed. Eagle, that area was not really anything like 10 years ago, maybe. I don't know. I'm just throwing the year out there, but now it is a hustle and bustling area, and all of that is causing, more human game interaction, mountain lions being one that's probably like the number one biggest change in that area. Is you're seeing more mountain lions, but it's not that there's more mountain lions. It's just that you're encroaching more and more in their habitat.
Exactly. Yeah. To paint it to this way, Haley, and she's 27, in her lifetime, when she was a kid, Edwards, which is an even bigger town, 15 minutes closer to Vail for us, right? It was one little restaurant called the Gas House, which we love to eat at, by the way. They have a bunch of elk and awesome stuff there. You go in there, there's a stuffed lion, African lion.
Nice. It was Cecil.
But anyways, when she was a kid, that was the only spot like in that whole town. And now we're another town down, and we're way bigger than that. Like, 6, 7, 8,000 people and growing every day. It's like, you like, until you cap the humans, like, let's not worry about adding more wolves. Like, let's worry about capping the humans invading into these areas. And then you can talk about, all these animals. Like, people don't understand, like Vail and Copper Mountain, they closed down on April 15th, where other mountains stay open for the elk migration. Like, those people who want the wolves don't understand like why these things go on. And I'm like, why you can mine in certain areas and can't mine in other. And I'm like, these animals in the National Forest already have a tough enough time trying to prevent people from building and developing in certain areas, and being like, look, there's herds here that need to not be pressurized by you humans. And it's like, let's tackle that and, limit where everyone's going all the time. It's crazy.
For sure. It's been interesting. So it's been about 8 to 10 years that my brother-in-law, he lived in Denver for, I guess, since like 2012, I think is when he moved out there, 11, 12. And just seeing how much that area has changed, we've been out to Colorado every year for the last, since then. And
Yeah.
it's just amazing seeing how much has changed, how much I-70 has changed, not physically the road, but the traffic, it's just, it's a freaking nightmare. So I really hope at some point things get under control as far as the growth and the expansion of how many people are moving there. I mean, I can't blame people for wanting to live in that area, in the whole state. It's an incredible place to live. There's so much recreation to be had. It's an awesome place to live, but it's insane to watch the boom of population there. But I guess you could probably thank states like New York for that, because people are leaving here by the thousands every week. So
them in California.
Yep. It's states like this that people are like, get me the hell out of here.
Right. When, we were on top of a 14er the other day. We were talking to this guy who just moved here from California. I was like, a lot of people leaving California these days. He's like, yeah, they're all moving here. And I was like, yeah, I mean, we're all for it. Just, don't tell us what to do and how to live, He laughed. He enjoyed it. I can't talk because I'm from Maryland, but I have a native in my household. So
sure.
I can play that card all I want.
By natural injection, you are a native.
Exactly. Marry into the nativism. Just the last thing I'll say is, like, her mother, where she lives, she's lived in this house. She kind of grew up in these two neighborhoods when she was a kid. And when she was a kid, the road that she's next to now, which is a 4-lane road, which is developed every single block for miles, it connects like from opposing beltways, used to be a dirt road, right? She's like 60, 63, 64, something like that. Like when she was a kid, 40 years ago, it was a dirt road. And now every single mile is, it's like Whole Foods. It's just stacked on top of each other. It's 4 lanes. It's just, that people just don't want to hear the fact that, like, we have so many more people and so many more people are flooding in every day. I'm like, we have more population, everyone's like, this is the way it was, like, wolves were here before us, like, they need to be here. I'm like, we also have more people living in Colorado than we did the last time there were wolves in Colorado, right? Or more people living in Colorado than we did in the entire United States the last time, like, there were wolves in Colorado.
No
right?
shit.
So it's like, some crazy like that. I looked it up. And you're just like, I get it. I hear you. They were here first, but like we live in a totally different model these days. Like, just think of it as any, a business model. Like, it's just a totally different model than it was back in the day, right? It's just, it doesn't work right now. Not yet. It's crazy.
It's Danny Boy. What's up, Danny Boy?
What's up, Danny? Are you working?
Yeah.
Who works? Why aren't you on a podcast? There we go. You're right.
You're listening to a live podcast. This is fantastic.
That's fantastic.
We were wondering who was over there. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, there was a good article out about grizzly bears, same situation. But yeah, it's great. Grizzlies used to be in certain areas of Montana.
Can't hear you. Talk up.
Grizzlies used to be in like certain areas of Montana, and it's like yeah, that's great, you want them in those areas, but people live there now. People didn't used to live there.
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah, it's so true. Like, I'm reading a book right now. I think it's Bryce Andrews is the author. He had a book called Bad Luck Way that I read that was about wolves that was in Wyoming, I believe. And that was a really, really interesting book about, he was a ranch hand, and what his interaction was with wolves. And then he's got another book that I'm reading now. I think it's called Down from the Mountain, I think is what it's called. And it's about grizzly bears in Montana and issues that they're having. And a lot of the issue is that you've got like almost just hobby farmers, people that are leaving from California and moving to these more rural areas, and they want to be self-sufficient and they want to have a little farm. So they're growing their 40 acres of corn and they have all this stuff. This is not normal for the Rocky Mountains to have an area cleared of trees or cleared of prairie and turned into a cornfield. So then all of a sudden you have grizzly bears that are coming down from the mountain and they're crushing corn all night long. And I'm only like 2 chapters into this book, but he was talking about, kind of laying the groundwork that at any time during the summer, you could have upwards of like 6 grizzly bears. I think it was like 6 or 8 grizzly bears in a 40 to 100 acre cornfield. Like, wrap your head around that.
That's
like,
crazy.
That's
48. That's
but,
grizzly.
But like grizzly bears. Yeah. And they're all coming down, and these are all in town. They're roaming the streets like freaking deer would, or
that's
whatever.
wild.
So it's a good point that Danny brought up, and like it's just another conversation I didn't plan on having with you, but it's just the impact of how people are changing and where they're living is changing. But everybody, you've got some of those same groups of people that are moving into these areas, but they want everything to be natural in the way it was, but it's just so far from being natural in the way it was.
I mean, the fact that we live up here is not natural. I'm like, we like patches were like made, like the big ones, the tunnels were like made in like something like the 70s up here in Colorado. And like, that's what makes it so easy to get this food up here. Like, so many people didn't live up here because they're like, dude, if it snowed and like without those tunnel passes, like you weren't getting food. Like, it's not the same model. Like, it's just, we're living in a spot where most early settlers would have been like, hell no, I'm not living up there. Like, you can't grow shit. The winter's long, right? Like, I'm not living there. It's not it's not technically a habitable place for humans, but we make it that way because we're good at that, right? Like, so to say like, you can do that same model, introduce the same thing, and it's going to just magically work itself out. It's like, so you're not thinking this whole thing through yet. You're thinking about what you want to feel. So yeah,
it'll be interesting.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
It'll be interesting to sit here from our side of the country and watch you guys and see how this all transpires. I'm voting for no wolves because I prefer to not have to be competing with them every couple of years when I come out there to hunt deer and elk. But
that's right. I'm probably selfishly in that same boat too, less competition for sure. But also at the same time, like, let's get a handle on our black bear population and stuff like that before, we start worrying about adding more predators. Like, let them have enough food themselves to all compete against each other. So yeah, craziness, man. Craziness. We'll see. 2020. It's on
2020.
It's staying consistent. It's consistently bad. So, we got the wildfires, everything else that's happened. Like, I'm just happy that it's consistent at this point. Like, I don't, you don't want to go real high and then real low. Like, at least it's just consistently bad, which is great.
Yeah.
Silver lining.
100%, man.
But now it's September, nothing else matters.
It's almost September, and you can go in the woods where you have no cell service, and you realize that you're minuscule in the world, and clarity happens. So that's the best part,
for sure.
We've been talking for about a hour and a half. I was afraid we weren't gonna. I should have known we were gonna find enough to talk about. But I ultimately wanted to get you on here, talk a little hunting. We like to spend a little bit of time together in the mountains, and been fun following along with you since I met you. I want to talk a little fitness. Talked a little fitness. I think that's something that hopefully many of the listeners, including myself, might want to look into. So how can people, find you? And, you got a website that you're doing a lot of this stuff through, or how are you doing that?
Yeah. So, best is always like, look, any listener, like if you're just struggling with health and wellness, like just email me, like Garry, Garry at ATH Fitness, FITS.com, right? Or you can just go to ATHFits.com. Those are the websites you can find us at, and you can email us. I mean, the main thing is like what we do is, and this is what I preach all the time, is just like how convoluted the fitness world is and how complicated people like to make it be. And like, if you go and watch somebody like, I don't know, Ben Greenfield or, any other fitness guru out there, it's just like the complications of fitness are just too high. When it's what we like to do is like, look, if you're somebody who, you want to increase your vitality, the quickest way to do that is make sure you have a lean composition, right? Every model that you see, any plant-based documentary or keto fad or anything you go through, like any perceived or correlated benefit is that these people are getting into a caloric deficit. And the number one way to extend lifespan and extend your vitality is to be in a caloric deficit pretty often and yet not malnourished. And you can do that eating foods you enjoy. Like, you don't have to, like, to get to a target weight. Like, you should still be able to eat like a normal freaking human, because that's always going to happen. You're going to have times when family comes around at Thanksgiving. And the big thing is that we show people is like, look, you know, what we kind of coach them through is life. Like, look, all right, so we're going into this weekend. Like, you're going to have this thing happen to you. You're going to have friends come in. You're going to go hunt and whatever, right? Like, how do you get on the other side and still, you know, you don't sabotage your results and then let that continue? So we just kind of teach people how to sustainably eat based around their life, their schedules, because that's the most important thing. Like, when you break it down, it's not about working out. Like, working out should amplify your life, but it should be custom fit to your schedule. Like, if you only have, you know, 3 hours a week that you can work out, like, that's plenty. Like, you can load the tendons, you can get the cardiovascular fitness in there, you can, you know, help your mental output with that as well, right? But that's plenty enough to get the you know, the actual benefits of having a body capable of what you want to do. So, like, fitness and exercise, like, that's the icing on the cake. That's the 10%. Like, that's what allows your body to go and do what you want to do. You know, be who you want to be in whatever activities you want to be, and participate in, whether it's your work or extracurricular, or being around for your kids, right? You know, that 10% of what you do in the gym is really just designed to allow you to go and do what you want to do. And the other 90% of, like, you know, getting to the lean composition, increasing your vitality, increasing your longevity, comes from nutrition. And with nutrition, that being said, like, you shouldn't have to eliminate carbs. You shouldn't have to, you know, go keto, like all these things. You just have to learn how to eat the foods you want without sabotaging your results. And that's kind of what we get people to do. And if you come on our page, you know, we're a lot more active on our social medias. So you can go to All Terrain Fitness on Instagram or Facebook. You know, we just kind of get people like, holy crap, like, they get in, they're like, I just didn't realize, like, you know, how many fats I was eating, or, you know, how many those IPAs were, you know, 300-400 calories a piece, right? Like, you know, 3 or 4 of those, I'm half of my daily caloric intake that I need, you know, to be at to enjoy, you know, have a lean composition. But like, it's not to say, like, you can't, like, enjoy those from time to time, but, like, maybe when you drink consistently, like, go and drink just pure vodka, right? Whatever, like, go and drink pure whiskey. Like, you'll have half the calories and, you know, more alcohol infusing into your veins, and, like, you'll be healthier.
To hear that, Danny?
But we're talking about eating sabotaging results. Where were we at?
Hard seltzers.
Yeah. I'll admit it, I'm a basic white girl. I love me some White Claws. They're 100 calories. They're pre-mixed for me. Hard seltzers. Way to go, for sure. But, you know, if you want to go whiskey for whiskey, I'll do that too. So, you know, you got to ebb and flow, yin and yang. So anyways, if you catch us on All Terrain Fitness, we'll show you how to eat the foods you want to eat without sabotaging your results, getting you lean in a sustainable way, showing you how to, you know, improve your eating habits that, you know, align for success, and you can do it for life. And so you can go out and hunt and do everything you want for life, right? Like, don't carry around excess weight while you're packing out a huge elk.
Amen to that, man. It was fun catching up with you. We'll have to stay in touch, and
for sure.
Maybe one of these years we'll cross paths again out there, and keep doing the good
Definitely,
stuff
man.
you're doing. Maybe I'll
even if you guys come out, let's try to just, even if we don't link, you know, up in the mountains, let's just link up.
Yeah,
you know,
fun.
grab a cold one.
Do you guys ski at all? You and your wife?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're a snowboarder.
Yeah.
I won't hold that against you, but, you know, I'm
It's
surprised
right.
I
tried to
let you
switch
there.
into skis, man. Yeah. They barely do. I really tried. I actually gave it a good effort. I just went down, like, I'm a pretty proficient snowboarder. I won't say I'm really good, but I'm proficient enough that I tweaked my knee real good on skiing, and I'm like, I'm not taking out a knee to learn something new. Like, I'm past that time to learn something. It hurts too much these days. So
yeah, maybe I might try to sneak a ski trip in.
Come out, or a hut trip. Have you ever done a hut trip out here?
Like the yurts, like, or whatever they call it?
Yeah, or the 10th mountain huts. Like, you know, there's just so many huts everywhere. You can go rent a hut in the winter, and you can go and, you know,
I've seen
ski and do some stuff, play around in the snow around.
my brother-in-law, they did that. And then my buddy Rob Herman, I know he did that back, I think last winter they did that, snowshoed in or did something to get way back into one of those. And my brother-in-law's got a pretty wild story. They got lost trying to get to theirs. And it was quite the ordeal, I guess. But anyway,
what happened?
They ended up getting to the place, but it took them like 12 hours on their skis with skins to get to it.
Okay.
And by the time they got there, you know, they were just completely shot. And they ended up staying the night and then just skied back the next morning. They had the whole weekend planned, but they got so, you know, razzled from the sounds of it going in that
for sure.
They backed right out the next morning.
It's rough country for sure. We're 99% convinced that our one buddy had COVID at one of the huts. Just backcountry, you know, going crazy. The last day that he's coming out, he's just coughing up blood like all night long. He's like sitting up. He's got like full like pneumonia symptoms. Our one buddy is a doctor who was there. He's like, yeah, like it seems like you have like full blown pneumonia. He goes and gets like his oxygen checked at the hospital. Like once he gets out, it's like at like 80 something crazy low. Had the cough, had all the COVID symptoms. And I'm like, dude, I mean, now you're super antibodies. Like you fought that thing off at 14,000 feet. You're 12,000 feet. You're good to go.
Yeah. That's freaking crazy, man.
Yeah.
You should look up, my buddy Rob. He lives in Denver.
Yeah.
He's an outdoor photographer and does a lot of
Can you
freelance.
text him to me?
Yeah.
My phone died. I'll don't have a pen.
I'll hook you up with him. So yeah,
that'd be awesome.
He's a good dude. And then I got a guy that I've gotten to be friends with, John Legansky, I think he lives right in Eagle as well. That might cross paths with him one of these days too. So.
Nice. Yeah. What does he do?
He actually drives bus for Vail Resorts, I think, for whatever the company is that does that. But his
Epic.
his Epic, yeah. So then he's also has a online whitetail hunting training program that he built called Whitetail 101. I told him to reach out to you.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't. I think I shot him a message back. Like he commented, he's like, "Oh, we run like the same trails." And then I was like, I commented back. I'm like, "Are you out here?" You know, whitetail was a little threw me off. I wasn't sure if he was out here.
So he grew up in Illinois, and him and his wife, they're just like, they've been all over the place. They've been in different states. They worked on cruise ships, all kinds of stuff. He's a real interesting guy. And now they just moved out to Eagle.
Nice.
Last, I guess over the winter when I first met him, they just settled down out there. So yeah, he's a good dude.
Good for him. It's good country out here.
Yes, he is. Yeah. It's a good place.
Yeah.
Can't doubt you guys for wanting to be there.
That's for sure.
So we'll stay in touch. Everybody check out
Mr.
Garry Dubs at All Terrain Fitness.
ATH All Terrain Fitness online, athfits.com. If you want to learn how to eat foods you enjoy and get lean, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer.
It's just tape your mouth shut. It's that easy.
And tape your mouth shut. Yeah. Yeah. That really is that's the key, man.
Yeah.
Breathe through your nose, tape your mouth shut. All right, brother.
Yeah. Good luck this fall. Shoot the big one.
I will. I'll try. Thanks.
Thanks for jumping on, buddy. Take it easy.
Yeah. Peace.
See ya. If you liked what you heard on this episode, if you could do us a favor and first and foremost, share it with a friend or share it on your social media platform, that'd be a huge help to get the word out there and get more people listening. If you'd like to help the podcast to keep the funding going here, the Bank of Harvey is always getting tapped. So if you are out there shopping for hunting equipment and you'd like to use one of the links that we have set up in our bio on Facebook and Instagram, there's a link tree, and if you go and click on that link tree, it will take you to it'll just be a website with a bunch of links, and you'll see a bunch of different stores that we are hooked up with. So anything you purchase, you don't need to use promo codes or anything like that. Just click on the link, and any purchase you make on that site, we will get a small commission of that. So that's what we've been doing here, really for maybe since last October, and it's been working really nicely. So Cabela's is one that's on there that's been a good one for us. Camo Fire is another. Mountain Ops is a supplement company that a bunch of us use. So I definitely recommend you check them out. That's I do a lot of my vitamins and my probiotic. I take that every day and swear by it. So check that out. Mountain Op's got a lot of different product that might fit some of your needs, and the list goes on and on. There's a bunch of companies in there, so it's great having those links so that you guys can kind of passively help support the podcast while you are buying stuff you're already going to buy. So thanks again. Make sure to share and like and spread the word about what we're up to here at Pertney Outdoors. So thank you. Have a good one.